Hi and welcome to Master of None. This channel is about diving headfirst into hobbies and sharing the hours of research I've done so you don't have to. Hopefully I can be a part of kickstarting your first steps and getting your toes wet in the hobby you didn't know you wanted to get into. This is the first video of the channel and my first go at shooting and editing videos. So please join me on my own progression as I produce more content. One of my goals with this channel is to create a community of people having a go, sharing their experiences, and hopefully be as stoked as I get when I nail something. That's enough about the channel, let's get into it. This video is going to be about smoking meat and what you need to get started. I'll leave the recipe and links to everything in the description. As a master of none, I highly recommend a vertical gas smoker. As I call it, the gateway smoker. I've had this for over 6 years and it's still going strong. We will get into other types of smokers in future videos, but the gas smoker is the best bang for your buck and easiest to run and maintain. Okay, let's dive into pork ribs. This method will consistently make you feel like a pitmaster time and time again. When selecting pork ribs, it's important to choose ribs with a similar size, weight and thickness. This will ensure they cook evenly throughout the smoke. Before starting on your pitmaster quest, you'll need some black gloves. Paper towel will become your new best friend. I suggest Costco for that purchase. You can either wash or wipe down the ribs before you start. Most racks of ribs have a membrane on the bone side of the pork. This becomes chewy and left on will prevent the rub from penetrating the meat, so it has to go. The best way to remove the membrane is to get it started with a butter knife, then use your new best friend, Mr. Towel, to get a grip and then rip it off. If you can fluke it as I just did and rip it off in one go, it really sets a tone for the smoke. Now we're going to trim off any excess flaps of pork and we're going to save them for later. I just squared that off for aesthetics, and now we're going to rub our meat. I call this technique the Michael Jackson. When rubbing your meat, it's good practice to use protection. Keep the hand that's touching the meat in a glove and only use the unwrapped hand to touch the utensil. This will eliminate any chance of cross-contamination and ultimately save you a trip to the chemist for hydrolyte and Imodium. I'm using a homemade rub, which I'll show you how to make in the next video, but you can use anything you want. And remember to rub all sides of your meat. This is what we're keeping the trimmings for. This is Dyson the Bulldog, and most likely my master. This is Old Faithful, the vertical gas smoker. The bottom compartment contains the gas burner, the regulator, and the igniter. This is the firebox that you're going to be putting your wood chunks in. This is the water pan, which acts as a heat sink and will also keep your meat moist. And in future videos, we will remove when we want our meat dry. This is our top compartment, which houses 3 racks that we'll be smoking our meat on. I'm filling up the water pan now, but a trick is, if you fill it up with warm water, it'll make the smoker come up to temp quicker. We're going to use apple wood today because it pairs best with pork. I recommend using chunks instead of chips because they last longer. I'm placing the chunk of apple wood in the firebox before we light it, so it's ready to go. I highly recommend investing in an Inkbird temperature probe. It has 4 inputs, Wi-Fi, a great phone app, and you can monitor it remotely from the pub. I'm only currently using one input to monitor the smoker temp at the moment. As it's written in the stones, it'd be rude not to crack a beer before you start the smoker up. As you can see, the rub has done its job. The ribs have sweated, the salt has drawn out the moisture and replaced it with the seasoning. We want to fire this bad boy up on max to get the smoker up to temp as quick as we can. Once the smoke is almost at temp, it's a good chance to give the racks a clean and it'll keep you out of the chemist. The Inkbird can display in either Fahrenheit or Celsius. I like to use Fahrenheit because it gives you a bigger margin of error and can prevent you chasing your tail. The sweet point for smoking ribs is 250 degrees Fahrenheit, plus or minus 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I like to open up the smoker and physically look at the flame and drop it that way. The smoke's rolling, now it's time to get the ribs in the smoker. Every smoke is different and has different temperature zones. With a vertical gas smoker, it's hotter at the bottom and cooler at the top. I suggest placing the ribs bone side down, and that also shields from the heat. The smoke is sitting below 250, but that's alright. So we've used up our first chunk. Now this is the perfect time to give it a spray with water. We want to keep our meat moist. I'm just using water today, but sometimes I like to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar or apple juice, depending on what I'm doing. And if I'm feeling adventurous, I'll use Coke on my beef short ribs. Now we're going to add our next chunk of wood, and it's always handy to have an old set of tongs. We're only going to put smoke on these ribs for an hour and a half, then we'll take them off and wrap them. It would be rude not to. The ribs are getting good colour on them and are nearly ready to be wrapped. Alright, after an hour and a half, it's time to get these ribs out of the smoker and into our trusty pan. I made that look easy. Alright, we're going to wrap these ribs in foil, and it helps to get the thickest foil you can find. I like to put 2 knobs of butter down first, then place the ribs on. Then I like to add a little bit more rub to get as much flavour into these ribs as we can. Now I'm going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, then wrap these bad boys up. Wrapping the ribs will make them cook faster and also retain all the moisture. Alright, we're going to place them back in the smoker for another hour and a half. At this point, you don't need any more smoke rolling. To be honest, you could probably finish them off in the oven. It's been an hour and a half. We're going to open one of these ribs up and sauce it. And at this moment, I realised I should have been wearing gloves. We're saucing this rack with Sweet Baby Ray's. Cooked for another 10 minutes just for the sauce to get tacky. Now we're back from that. It's time to cut these ribs up and give them a taste. Note to self, check the focus on the camera next time. If you could see, there's a pink ring around the meat. This is called the smoke ring. It just shows you how much the smoke has penetrated into your meat. It's also good practice to give your meat a tug. As a recap, rub your meat and let it sweat while you're setting up the smoker. Get the ribs on smoke for an hour and a half, take them off, wrap them up, and put them back on for another hour and a half. So cook time in total is 3 hours for these bad boys. The smoke ring's there, I swear. Cheers for watching Master of None's first video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Life's a garden, dig it.